Due to decades of popularity, there's always going to be new challengers stepping up to try and take that survival horror crown. Most fail, but when Bloober Team, fresh off the overwhelming success of their Silent Hill 2 remake, steps up with an original effort, you take notice. And that's why I was so eager to try out Cronos: The New Dawn. But does this rusty sci-fi, set in a futuristic Eastern European dystopia, have what it takes to make its own mark, or does it just merge into the pack? After playing the first 2 hours, the signs are there that Bloober Team could have a new survival horror hit on its hands, even if I do have some slight reservations.
Commencing search.
Cronos sees Bloober Team briefly stepping away from the established lore of Silent Hill to tell an original story, one set in a harsh, futuristic hellhole that was once called Poland. Taking inspiration from real locations, it tells a story of a character known as Traveler, who explores this fallen world and time travels into different eras on a mission to extract human souls from long-lost important people. It's all suitably weird, otherworldly and oppressive, complete with a sky coloured in a constant moody hue, and pockets of time oddities that defy the laws of nature. Basically, it's a horrible place to be, but despite its nightmarish visuals, it's still built on the foundation of a once thriving city with European architecture. So, much like Silent Hill 2, despite the horrors that lurk in the fog, significant sections like housing blocks and flower shops still feel strangely familiar to explore, unlike, say, the phallic-obsessed hallways of something like Scorn.
Confirmed dive location in D3. The nearby housing project.
This sense of familiarity, despite the unique horror aesthetic, is an approach that permeates all throughout Cronos, right down to its gameplay. And it feels like its genre's peers, perhaps at times to a fault. The weight of the Traveler, the mantling animation, squeezing through gaps, reading notes, juggling inventory slots, safe rooms, it's all second nature for anyone that's just even a little experienced in the genre. It does feel great though, and immediately hits our quality bar that you'd expect. But at first, I couldn't help be a little concerned that this is just essentially the same game I've played 20 times already with a fresh coat of paint. Fortunately though, it eventually became apparent that Cronos comes with a distinct enough spin on ranged combat, demonstrating that there's more to the game than just a unique looking by-the-numbers survival horror. The bulk of the enemies in Cronos are organic, slimy tendril monstrosities called orphans. They're not exactly unique in terms of visual design, but Cronos does offer a fresh take on how you manage these foes. Like Resident Evil's Crimson Heads, orphan corpses need to be dealt with. Unlike Crimson Heads, orphans don't reanimate, but rather become available biomass for other orphans to merge with, turning a regular foe into a souped-up beast. And you only need to witness this process once to quickly learn how valuable it is to destroy their remains. With this mindset, the familiar survival horror rhythm that Cronos lures you into is completely altered. Enemy encounters are no longer run and gun, but rather a game of deliberate tactics. You need to make sure that you don't kill an enemy while it's close to another that's currently engaging you. Otherwise, you'll quickly find yourself in even more trouble. And you'll need to do that while also trying to crowd control in the extremely tight combat spaces. So each battle presents a constant question about where and when you fire your shots. Much like Silent Hill 2, most of the combat is way more intimate than ranged, despite the presence of firearms. The Traveler comes equipped with a morphing handgun, not too dissimilar to the service weapon in Remedy's classic Control. Although upgrades, like the shotgun module called the Hammer, are mechanical objects that you can collect and attach, and once applied, these upgrades allow the firearm to easily morph into the form of your choosing. Ammo though is scarce, and in this regard, Cronos is much more traditional horror than action horror. Once again, if you dive in expecting to mow down fodder like you're playing Resident Evil 4, then expect to have a bad time. Enemies are tough, and merged enemies are significantly tougher. So, perhaps more than ever, ammo is extremely precious and, at least from what I played, every shot truly does count. Like Dead Space's Isaac Clarke, the Traveller can also stomp and swing a punch, but across my 2-hour session, these moves felt largely like flourishes rather than useful combat techniques. So, with a scarce amount of ammo and the possibility that even early enemies can quickly evolve into unstoppable beasts, you need to quickly learn a new playstyle that's distinct from other survival horror games. From what I saw, the key to combat success in Cronos is a systematic approach utilizing two extremely valuable abilities: charge and burn. With both the handgun, which is dubbed the sword, and the shotgun, you can hold down the trigger to charge your shot, and I can imagine this being the case for the entire arsenal. Once I began experimenting with the power of a charge shot to the head, and yes, this is a headshot game, there's no great emphasis on dismemberment, despite feeling like you're playing Dead Space at times, I quickly realised firing off a weak normal round was ultimately as good as discarding it. From then on, every one of my shots was charged. This, coupled with strategically taking down enemies to prevent merging, evolved my playstyle from the instant failure of run and gun to the overwhelming success of tactical consideration. And finally, burning fallen enemies became the third vital tool in that gameplay loop, whether that be during the action or post-battle. You'll find torch fuel at regular pickup stations, and you can deploy it with a quick tap of the left bumper. At first, you can only carry one container of fuel at a time, but I did manage to upgrade and add an additional slot during my short playthrough. Torch fuel is vital for not only destroying enemies' corpses for good, but it also works as an emergency defense, igniting a ring of fire at your feet that not only wards off attacking orphans, but will burn any corpse that may still be in your vicinity. Once again, this emphasizes the importance of tactical positioning. Why waste a unit of torch fuel just burning a single body when you can damage an active foe at the same time? Having all of this in play results in a combat system that rewards patience and well-considered tactics. And when I fitted all the individual mechanics together, it felt clear that this was always Bloober's intention, especially as, unlike its peers, Cronos lacks any kind of dodge mechanic. And after spending a lot of time with both Resident Evil 3 and Silent Hill 2 in recent years, a dodge was something that I sorely missed at first, and led to some pretty close and not so close calls in combat encounters. But after getting to grips with the combat rhythm, I quickly realised that I could live without it, and the game was never designed with this in mind. Side note though, I would really still like a dodge, particularly for the tricky boss encounter at the end of my play session, which trapped me inside very tight apartment rooms, desperately trying to make space between myself and an anthropomorphic black goo monster. I understand the thought process, but sorry, I'm still on Team Dodge. Outside of combat, Cronos settles into something that feels distinctly more traditional for the genre, ticking every box that you'd expect for a modern survival horror game. The section that I played was made up of mostly a linear path that pushes you through pockets of enemies and light puzzles, with frequent stops to collect resources and manage your inventory. There are even traditional safe rooms that include an upgrade station, storage boxes, and save points. It all immediately felt second nature, and while that's potentially a bit unexciting and safe, it's clear that Bloober has a firm grasp on the fundamentals of the genre. What's tougher to get a read on, however, is the quality of the original storytelling, something that even Bloober might admit that it has a mixed record with. My 2-hour session began with a psychological test and a brief introduction to my mission, but from then on, I learned very little about the story that you can't already glean from trailers and the game's Steam page.
The predecessor, ND3500, reached.
The Traveller is trying to harvest souls from the past before a cataclysmic event took place, taking orders from some no doubt shady organisation. There's also another Traveller who failed a mission, and you're sent in to learn more about their plight. Beyond that though, it's all a mystery. So, although Cronos appears interesting on the surface, and I'm certainly itching to find out more, it's hard to say right now if this tale will meet the standards of Silent Hill 2, a story that Bloober can't actually claim for itself, despite the good work it did with the remake.
Carry on where you left off.
With Cronos, it feels like Bloober Team has cherry-picked from the best of the genre and fashioned a survival horror beast of its own. From what I've played so far, the team has created something that's incredibly faithful to the formula, which isn't a complaint because I love the genre, but I'm just hopeful that the game spends more time celebrating the unique combat loop and original storytelling so that Cronos can form its own identity, rather than just merging into the pack.
You almost fried that. Good thing I was around.
And if you like that video and want to find out more about Cronos, be sure to stick with IGN.